So I'm a little confused, and I was hoping you guys could help me a little with this. I think the problem is that I am actually not confused, but other people's input into this topic made me think that I should be confused, but secretly, deep down inside, I think that I am in the know about this. I love that I can tell you guys my secrets, even though it's public, but yeah, I don't mean to sound like a know-it-all because I really don't like that. Like, I don't like that energy of someone that feels that they're right and you're wrong. And I've had people say that to me, and it's the worst feeling. And it feels like a waste of time to try to argue with them because that's just the way that they feel. And it definitely doesn't feel like respectful of your opinion. So I'm open to different opinions, and maybe that's why I'm showing up here, because I'd love to know your thoughts on this. So some friends of mine and I were hanging out the other night, and somehow the topic of old souls came up. Now, I'm all over old souls because there's no doubt, absolutely no doubt in my mind that I'm an old soul. Like yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. And it was interesting because there were three of us there, and we all agreed that one of the friends is definitely a young soul. She agreed, and me and the other friend agreed as well, like right away. She even said, like, she asked a lot of questions that seem like she's just new to this life experience kind of thing. And the things that she likes and the things that she prioritizes kind of seems very, yeah, it's like a young soul. And I love that. Like, it's probably one of the reasons that we all have something to contribute to our friendship, because we're all different in that way. The other friend said she's definitely an old soul, and she specifically said that she was the oldest soul out of all of us. And I was like, there's no way. So I'm not saying this because I think that being an old soul or being older or oldest or whatever is like the best thing. Like, I'm not saying, I don't think anything negative about young souls, because I was a young soul at one time, I'm sure. Like, I guess it also depends what you think about past lives, and if that has anything to do with like the topic of young and old souls. But I just did not agree. And the more she got talking about it, I realized that in her, well, this is my interpretation, is that she felt like an old soul is someone that is mature and kind of maybe more conservative and more reasonable, or like, yeah, like some of the things that made me think this about her interpretation was that she said, no, I said, no, I'm a really old soul compared to you. And she was like, no, like, you date and stuff. And I was like, what does that have to do with it? And I tried to take it in, like, not as a criticism about her or me or anything about any of us, but I was like, oh, that's so interesting. Because, yeah, then I finally told her, I said, I think we have a different idea of what an old soul is. Because I know, especially being one, but also seeing other people that I can tell are old souls, that old souls can date. And in fact, old souls probably date and are really into romantic things and stuff because they have this like life experience, not just one life, but many lives of having either partners or connections or love over lifetimes that moves them and drives them and makes them passionate. So yeah, I don't think that old souls can't date. Like, she's married and she has kids. But then the other friend, who we said was a young soul, is married and has kids as well. So then I started thinking a little bit about it more, like, how could I explain, because the young soul friend said, well, how do you see old souls? And I said, like, to me, old souls are like really philosophical and spiritual minded. Funny enough, the friend that I was telling this to, she's very, like, she's more into our religious community than I am, and maybe a bit more than my other friend. She's like the most into our religious community, so she could say that she's spiritual, but it wasn't the same thing. Like, it was like this spirituality that is, I said, like, it's a depth that old souls look at life through, that spiritual lens that is not religious based. It's philosophical. It's just this, I want to use the word existential. I don't even know exactly what it means. I don't know if I'm using it correctly, so maybe I should skip that, but I'm going to look it up later. But I feel like old souls, because they have gone through many lifetimes of experiences, have learned lessons that have made them prioritize different things in their lives than young souls. And young souls may get more excited about material things, or like just curiosity about things, like as if they're newly to this world kind of thing, which is really fun. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with being a young soul. I was one at a certain point, but I know that I'm an old soul, and I know that I'm the older soul out of the three of us, because for me, like, even the conversation, the way it went, the girlfriend of mine that felt like she was an older soul than me, like, after that, she was talking about why would God make criminals, and like all this kind of like going into like a conversation about blaming God for the negative things that we see in life. Whereas, like, I feel like from an old soul's point of view, like, an old soul would not say that, because being here for many lifetimes, I told this to the young soul friend of mine, that when I was trying to explain what I think an old soul is, it's like, I've been here for thousands of years, like, and I recognize other people who are truly old souls, like the thousands of years old souls, not the, a shorter time of older but not young kind of thing. So yeah, I feel like if someone has been around for that many years and has this spirituality about how they show up in the world, they could not look at God as the creator of problems. Like, it's so much more profound. It's so much deeper than that to me. And I think that understanding comes to me because I'm an old soul. So yeah, I got really curious about this. Again, I am not saying that one is better than the other, or that I'm better. Like, I'm not trying to compliment myself by saying that I'm old soul. It's just, like, to me, it feels like a fact that I'm the oldest soul out of all of us. And sometimes it can be like, it's a beautiful thing, but sometimes it can be really heavy for me and other people. So I'm not saying it's better than other people, but I absolutely love that I'm an old soul. And it has nothing to do with like whether I date or, you know, do romantic things or, yeah, I guess she meant like dating as in, experiencing different people in my life romantically and not set, like I'm not married and have kids and have something stable that's, um, considered like more mature in terms of, um, stability and reliability and, um, less, I don't want to say chaotic, but whatever the opposite of stable would be. Like I think she was trying to say that, you know, you do things a little bit more sporadically, or your life is more, yeah, like her maturity is a little bit more conservative and more level headed. I think that's the word, actually, level headed. But I feel like, old souls can totally be level headed, but more on the side of philosophical, deep, insightful, um, really like considering the world from this viewpoint of having been here for a very, very, very long time. And that's not a maturity thing. It's not an age thing, maturity thing. It's like a, maturation through many lives and going through profound, amazing, heartbreaking, heart-wrenching, magical things that make me look at the world from this like magical standpoint. It's the reason that I can show up on this channel and talk about so many different topics and connect them in a way that maybe other people wouldn't have otherwise seen a connection. Like some of you have commented that it's interesting how I make these analogies that you wouldn't have otherwise thought of. It's the reason that I love the clock behind me, because it's an old soul kind of thing. Like when I was dancing, especially tango, I loved being in places that held that old soul quality. I feel like tango is a beautiful old soul dance. You can feel the emotions, like through the walls, you could feel it oozing from generations previously. The reason I can talk about ancestors and ancestral healing and connection to spirit and divine to me is because I'm an old soul. So I was looking up old soul just on the internet. I didn't go like really deep into different authors writing about it, but I found one that I found really speaks to me. I feel like she explains it in a way that resonates for me in the way that I think of old souls. So I wanted to share it with you. And actually, she wrote this in June of last year, 2024, and updated in December of last year. So it's very newly written. And it goes like this. An old soul is someone whose spirit has gained profound knowledge and insight from previous lifetimes. They have a spiritual consciousness that allows them to navigate life's complexities with wisdom and detachment. These individuals often focus on inner growth and feel a deeper connection to the universe. Her name is Jean, I think it's Nagel. I have to see if I wrote that correctly, and the article is called Understanding the Old Soul, 9 Great Ways to Know Are You One? I'll link it in the write-up to this. So while I was reading that, I a few things came to me. The other thing is that I am sure that there are people that are more of an old soul than I am. And I am so grateful to have met some of those people who kind of, without them even saying it, but their energy made me realize that I'm an old soul and made me realize that I'm excited to continue my soul journey to become an older soul. But like I said, I also love that means that I believe that I was a younger soul at one point, and how I showed up in the world at that time, it fascinates me. Like, I wonder how I was when I was a younger soul, because I've always felt that I'm an old soul, even as a child. I didn't know it at the time. I just thought I didn't fit in, or like, why am I thinking about things so deeply? And yeah, I didn't even realize that I had such a spirituality about me in every single thing I did. And I used to connect spirituality only to religion, and the religious community that I grew up in was like, it taught me a lot, but I didn't connect with it that much, so I wouldn't have thought that I was, maybe somewhere along the line I thought like somehow I'm not religious, so that means I'm not spiritual. But then I started realizing, wow, I am one of the most spiritual people that I know. And yeah, I feel like this spirituality aspect of life and approaching life with that connection to the universe, the way this talked about that, like, I'm always talking about the universe. And the friend that felt that she was a older soul than me, I think that she sees it more like a maturity in terms of stability and groundedness. And but you would not normally catch her talking about the universe and the magical parts of like connecting with the universe. Like I said, she had brought up being angry at God or wondering why God has made like these wars and things like that. And I feel like someone who is truly an old soul, the way that I see it and the way that this woman has written about it, could not even go there, like would not say things like that. So again, this makes me so grateful for my friendships, because even just among the three of us, I think we are all at different levels of soul growth. And it teaches me a lot. And I feel like I can teach them a lot and they can teach me a lot. And it doesn't matter whether you're a young soul or old soul, you still learn a lot from any of the souls. And it makes me think like there must be some sort of like a gradient or a spectrum of like how old an old soul could be and how young a young soul can be, and there's so many different variations in between. So yeah, I'm just curious what you think. Like, do you think you're an old soul? Do you believe in old souls? Do you believe that there's only just this one lifetime and then the old soul concept doesn't really work for you? Do you think an old soul is more like what my friend was saying, like someone who's more mature and grounded and level-headed and has their life more conventionally together? Or is it someone that is, goes out on dates and does YouTube channels like this and talks about spirituality the way that I do and isn't married or has kids? Like, I'm sure that there can be old souls that are married and old souls and young souls that are married. But yeah, it made me think like, I didn't realize that someone could have a different definition of old soul, but of course they could, because why would we see it exactly the same way? But in my mind, it's like I have a full out knowing that I'm an old soul. There's no doubt in my mind. And I know when I meet someone else that's an old soul, and I've met kids that are old souls, like beyond my years. I mean, I am I am older than them in terms of my age in this lifetime, but their old soul is older than mine. So their years of being an old soul is beyond mine, if that makes sense, because the way they show up, it's truly amazing. Like I learned so much from it. And yeah, let me know what you think. I'll talk to y'all soon. Oh yeah, and I am still planning to test out, well, I'm going to test out doing a live, but I'm going to do a live on February 3rd. I'm thinking I'm going to do it at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. And maybe for half an hour. Get on board if you feel like it. No pressure. You can watch it later. And yeah, like I said, if for some reason I can't get the live to work out, I will just do a regular video and see you all there.